So we're going to test the A3 radial here on this test rig. We've got a single socket and two twin sockets wired as an A3 radial. They're fused at 20 amps and wired in 2.5mm squared twin and CPC cable. I've already isolated the supply and secured isolation, which I've shown in a previous video. I've also disconnected the line conductor, but this time for the first part of the test, I actually linked it to the neutral bar, so where the neutral is connected. So first of all, we're going to do part polarity test. So we're going to start by trying to prove the two pin positions in each socket outlet are line and neutral. However, they could be the wrong way round. So we're going to go on in the second part of the test to link line and CPC, which we're very comfortable with in order to achieve our R1 plus R2 reading for continuity of CPC, and prove polarity. So in other words, we will have proved, first of all, line and neutral pins around the right way, and then we'll prove the line and earth pin where the CPC is connected in the second part. If we prove all three pin positions are correct, we do that by doing the two tests. So if we test that one and then that one, by testing two of the three, we must prove that all three pin positions are in the right place. So we're going to set our Megger MFT tester up to do a continuity test. So as always, we need to move it around into the ohm scale, which is identified with an orange indicator on it. This time we're going to use our plug-in test lead, which has been floating about in our box and we haven't used it for the first 12 weeks. Our first test requires us to do the part polarity test between the line and neutral, so we're going to be using the red and the blue leads first of all. However, they still need to be connected into the red and green sections that we've used exclusively throughout the 12 weeks that we've been here so far. So I'm going to put the red one in the red hole and the blue one into the green hole. Okay, so we're in that position now. We've ignored the blue one altogether. We're going to need to remove the resistance of our lead, and we're going to need to short out, in this case, the line and neutral pin. And we can do that by positioning a knife blade across it or something that conducts, such as a coin. So we can go across like so. Okay, so if I use my knife, nice and firm, got a reading of 0.16, press the test button once, and I've now got 0. So I've removed the resistance between line and neutral. We're not going to record this reading. This is part polarity test. We're going to go on and then do between line and CPC to achieve our R1 plus R2 reading in the second part of the test for our radial socket circuit. So my Megger MFT is set up now, testing between the line and neutral connection. This is part polarity test, so we're going to try and prove the position of the line and neutral at each of the socket outlets. They could be reversed in one or more of the outlets, so we won't have proved polarity at this stage. We'll also operate the switch at the same time. The first stage doesn't require us to keep the reading in mind, so it's a test between line and neutral. It's only part polarity test. However, we expect to see the reading get higher. The further we are away from the consumer's unit, the more cable in circuit that we get. So let's go for that test then. So we plug into the first socket outlet, turn it on, reading of 0.49, goes off. To the second side, fractionally higher, that's fine, and then off. Moving down, maybe we're now a little further away from the consumer's unit, so maybe the reading will be slightly higher. It is, and the switch operates correctly. And down we go, and then maybe this will be the highest one that we get. However, we're not recording any of these readings. We're just working our way down through the radial circuit. Okay, so we've done a reading between line and neutral as part polarity. We can now swap our test leads over between line and CPC in order to achieve our R1 plus R2 reading. It will also allow us to tick the polarity box as well when we've completed the next stage of the test. Let's set our test instrument up and let's move our link in our consumer's unit now to test between the line and the CPC. So let's set our test instrument up to complete the polarity test and then get our continuity of CPC reading, of which we will record the highest one. So we're going to reset it back to ohms. This time we're going to be measuring between the line and CPC. So we're going to use the red one and the green one this time, and they are in the red and green holes in the top of the MFT. Okay, so we're ready. And we have to remove the resistance of the lead once again. We're going to use our knife, remembering that the fuse is located this side on the plug top. So that makes this one the line and this one the earth pin. So if I short those two together, move that out of the way, it's flashing 0, so it's gone below 0. Test button once, test button once again. we're now to 0. So we should find that we can use that now to complete our polarity test and record the highest reading as our continuity of CPC. So we'll change our test leads over. So we've got the red and green one in. We're testing between line and CPC. Going to do each socket in turn on the A3 radial circuit, and we're going to record the highest reading wherever we achieve it. We now should complete the polarity test by proving the line and CPC are in the correct position. By doing 2 of the 3 possible options, we actually prove that all 3 pin positions are correct. We'll operate the switch in each case again. And remember, we need to remember the highest reading now to record as R1 plus R2 on our test paperwork. So let's go to the first one. Slightly higher reading than before because the CPC is a smaller cross-sectional area than that of the neutral. So we're testing between the 2.5 line and the 1.5 CPC. So 0.66, turn it back off and turn it back on. We're going to need to leave the switch on for insulation resistance, which we're going to carry out next. So at this stage, every time we test the socket outlet, we're going to leave the switch back into the on position. Okay, 0.67. Slightly higher now. Okay, I'm going to leave it on. 0.7. So 0.71. Maybe we'll get the highest one here. We have 0.76. Let's do the switch. And then we've got to leave it on. So 0.79 for us is the highest reading achieved. That's recorded as R1 plus R2. We've completed 2 of the 3 pin positions, so we've actually proved all 3. We've operated the switch, so we've sufficed the polarity check, so we can now tick the polarity box.